that constant hum of anxiety you lived with, the mental gymnastics before every interaction, the sheer exhaustion of just being around them. Remember that life? What if, almost imperceptibly, the background noise has faded and a quiet strength has taken its place? So many people break free physically, but remain emotionally tethered, never truly experiencing the profound markers of inner victory. Missing these signs, especially the clarity offered by the final ones, means you might still be vulnerable to their lingering shadows or even a future entanglement. This is about recognizing your complete liberation. Quiet heart. There's a shift that happens, a profound internal change that often creeps up on you so subtly you might not even register its arrival until you pause and consciously take stock. It's the feeling of your inner world settling, like dust after a storm, and what remains is a surprising, almost forgotten sense of calm. Remember those days when a mere thought of them, or an unexpected email, could send your heart racing, your stomach churning, your mind into an immediate high alert state, bracing for impact? That constant state of vigilance was your nervous system quite rightly screaming, danger. It was exhausting, a draining emotional labor that consumed so much of your bandwidth. This is where we see the very first sign you've truly begun to defeat that influence, your emotional reactivity, or rather, the profound reduction of it. It's not that you've become unfeeling or indifferent in a cold way, it's that their power to trigger that visceral fight or flight response has significantly diminished. You might notice it in small ways at first. Perhaps their name comes up in conversation, and instead of that familiar jolt of anxiety or a wave of anger, there's less. There's a space, a buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. You can observe the thought or the mention without being immediately sucked into the emotional vortex that used to accompany it. This isn't just about suppressing feelings. It's a genuine recalibration of your nervous system. Your body is no longer perceiving them as an imminent threat to your well-being in the same acute way. This happens because through distance, boundary setting, and your own internal healing work, you've begun to genuinely internalize your safety and your own agency. You're no longer living in reactive mode, constantly anticipating their next move or mood swing. This newfound emotional regulation in relation to them is a monumental victory, a clear indicator that their hooks are losing their grip or have even been removed entirely from those deep, tender places. And flowing naturally from this is the second sign. Their absence from your daily life starts to feel, well, perfectly normal, even distinctly peaceful. Remember when their presence or lack thereof dictated so much of your emotional weather? Perhaps you were anxiously awaiting a text, dreading a phone call, or constantly scanning for their mood. Their silence could have been as deafening and anxiety-inducing as their rages. But now, the quiet is just quiet. It's not filled with anxious anticipation or a fearful void. It's simply space. Space for your own thoughts, your own peace, your own life. You might go an entire day or several days without them even crossing your mind significantly. And when you do think of them, it's more like a passing cloud than an all-consuming thunderstorm. This normalcy, this reclaiming of your mental real estate is a beautiful, understated testament to your healing. Their non-involvement is no longer a source of angst or longing or fear. It's simply a fact, and one that contributes to your baseline of contentment. This shift signifies that you're no longer defining your life in relation to them, either in their presence or in defiance of their absence. Your energy, your focus, your daily rhythms are now being dictated by your own needs, your own desires, your own routines. You are, quite literally, moving on, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. The mental space they once occupied, filled with drama, anxiety, and the exhausting task of trying to manage their moods or predict their behavior, is now available for you. This is liberation in its truest sense. It's not about them disappearing from the planet, but about them disappearing as the central, controlling figure in your internal landscape. This quiet heart, this settled spirit, is the fertile ground from which all other signs of your victory will spring. It's the foundation of your reclaimed self. Consider the energy drain you used to experience. Interacting with, or even just thinking about, an individual with strong narcissistic traits often requires a massive output of emotional and mental energy. Trying to decode their intentions, navigate their sensitivities, defend yourself against criticism, manage their demands. When that drain stops, It's like an enormous leak in your energetic resources has been plugged. Suddenly, you have more energy for your own life, your work, your hobbies, your other relationships, your self-care. This isn't just a subjective feeling, it's a real recovery of life force. This surplus of personal energy, this ability to invest in things that genuinely nourish you rather than things that deplete you, is a direct result of that quieted heart and a clear sign you're no longer hemorrhaging your resources into a toxic dynamic. The peace isn't just a lack of conflict, it's an abundance of your own self. It's fascinating to observe how this internal calm changes your perception of past events too. While the memories of difficult interactions may still exist, they often lose their sharp, painful edges. You might be able to look back with a sense of detachment, perhaps even a degree of compassion for your past self, and sometimes in a very distant way, for their woundedness, though this is never a requirement or an excuse for their behavior. The emotional charge dissipates. You're no longer reliving the trauma in the same vivid, distressing way. Instead, you're observing it from a place of greater strength and wisdom, having integrated the lessons without being continuously re-wounded by the experience. This ability to see the past without being emotionally hijacked by it is a profound indicator of healing and a quiet triumph over the hold they once had on your psyche. Your heart isn't just quiet, it's wiser. Clear vision? As that internal emotional storm subsides and your heart finds its quieter rhythm, another incredibly empowering transformation begins to unfold. Your vision clears. Not just your physical vision, but your perceptual acuity, your ability to see yourself, others, and the world with a newfound clarity and discernment. This is particularly crucial because prolonged exposure to manipulative dynamics, especially those involving gaslighting or chronic invalidation, can severely erode your trust in your own judgment. You might have spent months or even years second-guessing your perceptions, questioning your sanity, and wondering if you were the problem. So when this fog starts to lift, it's like seeing the world in full color for the first time in a long while, and it heralds the third powerful sign of your victory. You start trusting your own judgment and intuition again, deeply and without apology. Remember those moments of cognitive dissonance? When their words didn't match their actions, when their explanations felt off, but you couldn't quite pinpoint why, when your gut was screaming a warning, but your mind, conditioned by their narrative, tried to rationalize it away. That internal battle is exhausting. The moment you start consistently honoring that inner voice, that gut feeling, even when it's uncomfortable or goes against what someone else is trying to convince you of, that's a landmark of your recovery. You're no longer outsourcing your reality testing to someone who has a vested interest in distorting it. Your intuition becomes a trusted guide again, and you listen to it because you've learned through hard experience that it's usually pointing you towards truth and self-preservation. This reliance on your own inner compass is a fundamental component of reclaiming your autonomy. This rediscovered self-trust naturally leads to the fourth sign. You begin to express yourself more authentically and freely, without the constant fear of their reaction or retribution. In the presence of a controlling or highly critical individual, many people learn to shrink themselves, to filter their words, to dilute their opinions, to make themselves smaller and less threatening to avoid conflict or disapproval. You might have walked on eggshells, carefully curating your speech and behavior. But now, you notice yourself speaking your mind more often, sharing your true feelings, setting boundaries more readily, not with aggression, but with a calm, clear sense of your own worth and your right to your own perspective. The words flow more easily because they are no longer being dammed up by fear or the anticipation of a negative response. You are, in essence, unsilencing yourself, and your voice, your authentic voice, begins to reemerge, stronger and clearer than before. Think about the creative energy that gets unlocked when you're no longer constantly self-monitoring and self-censoring. Perhaps you find yourself drawn to old hobbies you abandoned, or new forms of self-expression. Your personality, which may have been suppressed or muted in that toxic dynamic, starts to blossom again. You laugh more freely. You engage with others more openly. Your authentic self, the one that might have gone into hiding to survive, feels safe enough to come out and play again. This isn't just about defiance. It's about the joy of unfettered self-expression, the relief of finally being able to be who you truly are without apology or fear. It's a profound liberation of spirit, a beautiful reclaiming of your unique essence that had been overshadowed. Moreover, with this clear vision, your ability to discern healthy versus unhealthy relationship dynamics in all areas of your life becomes much sharper. You start to notice red flags in others more quickly, patterns of manipulation or control that might have previously gone undetected now stand out in stark relief. Your tolerance for drama, for one-sided relationships, for emotional unavailability plummets. It's not that you become cynical or overly suspicious, rather, you become more discerning, more protective of your energy, and more committed to fostering connections that are genuinely reciprocal, respectful, and nourishing. Your past experience, though painful, has become a powerful teacher, equipping you with a finely tuned radar for relational health. You're no longer operating in the fog. You have 20/20 vision when it comes to relational dynamics, and you use it to protect your peace. This clarity also extends to your own past behavior and choices within the difficult dynamic. Instead of being mired in self-blame, why did I put up with that for so long? You begin to see your actions with more compassion and understanding, recognizing the coping mechanisms you employed to survive an unhealthy situation. You can acknowledge your part without taking on undue responsibility for the other person's dysfunction. This self-compassionate clarity allows you to learn from the past without being defined or shamed by it. It frees you from the cycle of rumination and allows you to move forward with wisdom and a greater sense of self-acceptance. You see the full picture, including your own resilience and your own journey through it, and that in itself is a victory. The narrative is no longer one of shame, but one of survival and growth. Finally, this clear vision often leads to a reassessment of your values and priorities. What truly matters to you? Peace of mind, authentic connection, personal growth, emotional safety? When you've been through the ringer of a toxic relationship, superficial concerns tend to fall away, and what emerges is a deeper understanding of what constitutes a meaningful and fulfilling life for you. You become less willing to compromise your core values for the sake of keeping a dysfunctional peace or gaining someone's fleeting approval. This value-driven clarity becomes a powerful filter for your decisions moving forward, guiding you towards choices that are truly aligned with your deepest self and your well-being. This is how you build a life that is not just free from toxicity, but actively rooted in what you hold sacred. Strong defenses. As your heart finds its quiet and your vision clears, your external defenses naturally begin to solidify, almost as if your inner healing is projecting a more resilient and less permeable boundary out into the world. This isn't about building impenetrable walls that keep everyone out. Rather, it's about cultivating a healthy, flexible perimeter that protects your well-being while still allowing for nourishing connections. The strength of these defenses is clearly demonstrated in the fifth sign that you've truly overcome that past influence. Their attempts to hoover or suck you back into their drama, which may have once been distressingly effective, now largely fail. You see them coming, you understand the underlying mechanics, and you simply don't take the bait. Your discernment is your shield. Hoovering maneuvers, as we know, are designed to pull you back into the narcissist's sphere of influence when they sense you're genuinely disengaging, or if they need a source of supply. These attempts can range from sudden, out-of-the-blue friendly messages or calls, declarations of remorse, or supposed epiphanies, manufactured crises where they desperately need your help, or even nostalgic references to good times, which often only existed in their selective memory. In the past, these tactics might have tapped into your empathy, your guilt, your hope for change, or your sense of obligation. But now, with your clear vision and quiet heart, you recognize them for what they are: strategic ploys, not genuine expressions of change or need. You might feel a flicker of the old emotional response, but it's quickly overridden by your knowing, by your commitment to your own peace. You politely decline, you ignore, or you respond with a brief, factual, and emotionally neutral statement that gives them no hook to latch onto. Each successful deflection of a Hoover attempt reinforces your strength and their diminishing power. This increased effectiveness in deflecting hoovering directly connects to the sixth sign, the so-called flying monkeys, individuals the narcissist enlists, often by playing the victim and feeding them a one-sided story, to do their bidding, relay messages, or pressure you, start to lose their power over you too. There was a time when a call from a mutual friend or family member delivering a message on behalf of the narcissist or expressing concern about your behavior could have sent you into a spiral of anxiety, guilt, or frustration. You might have felt compelled to defend yourself, to explain your side, to win them over. But now you see these emissaries, whether they are witting or unwitting participants, more clearly. You recognize that they are often operating with incomplete or manipulated information. While you might still feel a twinge of disappointment if it's someone you care about, you no longer feel the overwhelming need to justify your boundaries or your decisions to them. You might calmly state your position once, "My relationship with X is private, and I'm not going to discuss it further," or simply disengage from conversations that are clearly designed to pressure or guilt you on the narcissist's behalf. You understand that trying to convince a loyal flying monkey is often a futile exercise, like arguing with someone who's already chosen their side based on an edited reality. Your energy is better spent elsewhere. Their attempts to make you feel isolated or to gang up on you no longer have the same terrifying impact because your sense of self-worth is more internally anchored. You realize that your peace doesn't depend on everyone understanding or approving of your choices, especially when their understanding is being deliberately skewed. This ability to withstand or even calmly disengage from the pressure of flying monkeys is a huge indicator that you have taken back control of your own narrative and your own social sphere. Their power to triangulate and isolate you has been neutralized because you see the game. The strengthening of these defenses also means you're much quicker to identify and address any subtle boundary violations, not just from the original individual, but in any relationship. Your boundary muscle has been exercised and is now strong. You no longer wait until resentment builds up or until a boundary has been repeatedly and egregiously crossed. You address things earlier, more calmly, and more confidently. Actually, I'm not comfortable with X, or I need Y when we interact. This proactive boundary maintenance prevents new toxic dynamics from taking root and signals to everyone that you respect yourself and expect the same in return. This isn't about being confrontational. It's about being clear and consistent, which ultimately leads to healthier and more respectful interactions overall. Your internal sense of no is strong and readily accessible. This new resilience also changes how you handle any information that might inadvertently reach you about the narcissist, perhaps through the grapevine or a stray social media post. In the past, news of their life, their successes, their new relationships, or their criticisms of you might have sent you into a tailspin of comparison, anxiety, or anger. Now, while you might not be entirely immune to a fleeting curiosity or a brief emotional flicker, it doesn't derail your day or consume your thoughts. You're more able to see it for what it is, their life, their narrative, separate from yours, and you can quickly return your focus to your own path. Their ability to occupy your mind rent-free has dramatically decreased. You're less invested in their story because you're so much more invested in your own, which is now far more compelling and positive. Consider also your reduced fear of their potential reactions. There was likely a time when the mere thought of their anger, disapproval, or smear campaigns could dictate your actions and keep you silent or compliant. Now, while you might still be aware of their potential for negativity, that fear no longer holds you hostage. You've faced the worst, or you've prepared for it, and you've realized that you can survive it, that their tantrums or manipulations, while unpleasant, cannot actually destroy your core self. This courageous stance comes from a place of deep self-trust and the knowledge that your well-being is no longer contingent on their approval or their mood. This lack of fear, or greatly diminished fear, is one of the most liberating victories of all. You are no longer navigating your life based on their potential for volatility, but on your own values and desires. Future forward, when your heart is quiet, your vision is clear, and your defenses are strong, something truly magical begins to happen. Your energy and focus naturally, almost effortlessly, pivot towards the future. This isn't just about moving on from a difficult past. It's about actively, even joyfully, embracing what lies ahead. This profound shift in orientation, this genuine excitement for your own unfolding life, independent of their story or their influence, is the seventh and perhaps most telling sign that you have not only defeated a narcissist's hold on you, but have truly stepped into your own sovereign power. You are no longer looking over your shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop, or expending energy trying to manage or recover from their impact. Your gaze is firmly fixed on the horizon, filled with possibility and your own creations. One of the most beautiful manifestations of this is a renewed sense of hope and optimism. Prolonged exposure to toxic dynamics can be incredibly hope-eroding, leaving you feeling cynical, weary, or even resigned to a life of limited joy and constant struggle. But as you heal and reclaim your power, that innate human capacity for hope begins to reassert itself. You start to believe in the possibility of good things happening for you. You feel a lightness, an eagerness to engage with life, to set new goals, to dream new dreams. This isn't a Pollyanna-ish denial of past difficulties, but a hard-won, realistic optimism based on your proven resilience and your commitment to creating a better future. The world starts to feel like a place of opportunity again, rather than a minefield you have to navigate with extreme caution because of them. You might find yourself making plans, big or small, with a sense of enthusiasm that was absent before. Perhaps it's planning a trip you always wanted to take, starting a new project, pursuing a new career path, or simply looking forward to a weekend filled with activities that genuinely nourish your soul. The key here is that these plans are yours. They are not contingent on anyone else's approval, nor are they driven by a need to prove anything to anyone, especially not the person from your past. There's an intrinsic motivation, a desire to explore, to create, to experience, simply for the joy and fulfillment it brings to you. This proactive engagement with life, this forward momentum, is a clear signal that you are no longer defined or constrained by the aftermath of that difficult relationship. You are authoring your own next chapter. Furthermore, you'll notice that your criteria for relationships, both new and existing, have fundamentally shifted. You're no longer just looking to avoid toxicity, you're actively seeking and cultivating relationships that are built on mutual respect, genuine empathy, shared values, and authentic connection. Your standards are higher, not out of arrogance, but out of a deep self-respect and a clear understanding of what you need to thrive. You are less willing to settle for crumbs, more attuned to genuine reciprocity, and more confident in walking away from dynamics that feel imbalanced or unhealthy, even if they aren't overtly narcissistic. Your focus is on building a supportive, uplifting community around you, a network of relationships that contribute to your well-being, rather than detracting from it. This selective, conscious building of your social world is a hallmark of someone who has truly healed and moved forward. A fascinating aspect of this future-forward orientation is that you spend significantly less time analyzing the past, particularly the actions and motivations of the narcissist. While there's a necessary period of processing and understanding, a point comes where you realize that continued rumination yields diminishing returns. You've learned what you needed to learn, and now your energy is better invested in creating new, positive experiences. You accept that you may never fully understand why they behaved the way they did, or get the apology or closure you once craved, and you realize that your peace and happiness don't actually depend on those things. You've found closure within yourself. This ability to release the need for answers from them, to stop picking at old wounds, is incredibly liberating and frees up enormous mental and emotional energy for your present and future. This doesn't mean you forget the lessons learned. On the contrary, those lessons are now integrated into your wisdom, informing your choices in a way that protects your future peace. But the emotional charge is gone. The past becomes a reference point, not a prison. You carry the wisdom, not the weight. And this lightness allows you to approach new experiences and new people with an open heart, albeit a wiser one. You are not so damaged by the past that you are unable to trust or connect again. Rather, you are more discerning, more aware, and more capable of building truly healthy connections because you've learned what to look for and what to avoid. Your past has informed you, not broken you. This resilient optimism is a treasure. Ultimately, this seventh sign culminates in a quiet, deep-seated confidence in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. Having navigated the treacherous waters of a relationship with a highly manipulative individual and emerged stronger and wiser, you possess an earned resilience. You know you can face challenges, set boundaries, protect your peace, and create a life aligned with your values. This isn't arrogance, it's a calm, grounded self-assurance. The fear of future entanglements or of encountering other difficult people diminishes, not because you think you're immune, but because you trust your ability to recognize the signs early and respond effectively. You are no longer a victim of circumstances, but the conscious creator of your life. This future focus, filled with hope, purpose, and self-trust, is the ultimate testament to your victory. Recognizing these subtle yet profound shifts within yourself, the quiet heart, the clear vision, the strong defenses, and the vibrant future-forward momentum, is to acknowledge the incredible journey of healing and empowerment you've undertaken. It's not about a win over another person in a competitive sense, but a profound victory for your own spirit, your own peace, and your own authentic life. It's the moment you realize, perhaps with a gentle smile, that their chapter in your story is well and truly over, and you are free to write the rest of it exactly as you choose, with clarity, strength, and boundless hope. This entire journey of recognizing these signs is so incredibly validating. That shift from constant analysis of them to excitement for your own future really hit home. Which of these 7 signs, if you're honest, are you most proud to see blossoming in yourself or most hope to cultivate?